Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pitt Admissions Live on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Tim Joy, and I am thrilled to be joined by so many of you who are interested in becoming Pitt Panthers. I myself am a graduate of Pitt. I graduated in the spring of 2017 from Pitt School of Education, and I was so inspired by the time that I spent at Pitt as a student that I have now decided to stick around the university as a staff member, as an admissions counselor, in a role that really allows me to share with individuals like you all how Pitt is providing the best collegiate experience in the world to its students. During our time together today, we are going to be discussing and answering the questions that you may have that are centered around internship opportunities that are available and can be built into the Pitt student experience. Before we start taking any of your questions, I do want to encourage you all to share any of those questions that you may have in the chat feature here on YouTube. We'll be taking as many questions as possible from there, sharing them through this YouTube Live, answering them throughout while we are live today. Before we take our first question, while we wait for those first couple of questions to trickle in, I am very excited to be joined by 4 current Pitt students, all of whom have had exciting internship experiences that they are looking forward to sharing with you all. So again, while we wait for your first couple of questions to come in, I will ask that each of them introduce themselves, starting with Jackie.
Hi, so my name is Jackie. I am a junior. Well, actually, I'm going to be a senior at the University of Pittsburgh. My major is media and professional communications, and I'm minoring music. And the 2 internship experiences that I've had were at a local community television station at Pittsburgh called PCTV, and then I had an internship abroad in London at a radio promotion PR agency titled Heart Media. Good time, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Let's hear from Kyle.
Hi, I'm Kyle. I'm going to be a senior, and I am a political science and history major, and I plan on going to law school after I graduate. I've interned at 2 law firms, one in the Pittsburgh area for 2 years doing civil defense and also insurance liability. And I've worked at one in the Buffalo area, and that was focusing on workers' comp and health law. And in the fall, I will be starting as an intern in the Pitt Athletics Compliance Department, and I will be helping our NCAA athletes stay eligible at the University of Pittsburgh.
Very cool. Thanks, Kyle. Next up, we'll have Alana.
Okay, hi, my name is Alana. I'm going to be a senior this upcoming year. I'm a bio major with a minor in chemistry and a certificate in public and professional writing. The internship that I had all of sophomore year is I worked in a like a science education center, making like digital online study guides and quizzes and things like that to help high school students learn STEM education.
Very cool. Thank you, Alana. And last up, we have Sophia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia. I will be a senior majoring in marketing with a certificate in sport management. I've had 2 internship opportunities so far. My first one last summer in Sydney, Australia. I interned with the Greater and Western Sydney Giants, an Australian rules football team, in their membership and ticketing department. And then this past fall, I was a marketing and events intern with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Awesome. Well, thank all 4 of you in advance for sharing your time and your knowledge about internship experiences at Pitt. We do have our first question that I'm going to direct over to Alana, and it is from Shreya. Shreya is wanting to know, are there many opportunities for paid internships at Pitt?
Yeah, so it all really depends on the internship that you're looking for. So for me, to find an internship, I went on a website we have called Handshake. It's sort of like LinkedIn, but it's specified for college students, employers who are looking for college students specifically. So there's like a little feature you can press where you're looking for paid or unpaid. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. It turned out my internship was paid, which was just a nice plus. But if that is something you're looking for, then you can specify that.
Very cool. Thank you, Alana. We have our next question from Sarah. Sarah wants to know, how does Pitt make it accessible for students to schedule internships while they are taking classes? Let's hear a little bit from Kyle for that.
So my internship, I make my own schedule. So I go in whenever I just don't have class. So like this semester, I didn't have classes on Mondays or Fridays. So I would just work all day on Mondays and Fridays. But it kind of depends. Like some internships you can take for credit, and then that's just part of your workload. So it just kind of depends on like the internship that you have.
Very cool. Have any of you also done internships for credit? Jackie, I think you had a little bit of experience in that. Am I correct?
Internships for credit? Yes. So my first one was for credit because it's a requirement through CGS that you have at least one internship. And then if you complete another internship, that just counts towards your electives.
Very cool. Thanks, Jackie. We have our next question that I'm going to direct over to Sophia. Sophia, can you intern during the summer or the school year? Can you do both?
Yes, you can absolutely do both. Like Jackie and Kyle were saying, when you intern during the school year, you can really work that around your class schedule. My internship with the Steelers, I actually got credit for it. So instead of going to class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was getting 6 credits for it. For the College of Business Administration, you can earn up to 6 credits for an internship. So it was super easy to have my classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then be able to do my internship again for credit on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then you can absolutely do them through for the summer as well. This upcoming summer, I'll hopefully still be interning with PNC Bank. So just lots of opportunities. It's really, especially for business students, that's really all I can speak to as a business student. It's really up to you with how much experience you want to get, how much you want to do, how much you can handle. So yes, definitely doable to do multiple internships during the school year and as well as the summer.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia. And Sophia, we actually had a question come through that is specifically for you. Lauren asked if you could speak a little bit about the sports management certificate and the different things you did as an intern within that certificate.
Yeah, so the sports management certificate is actually new this past year. So I started at the beginning of my junior year, but going forward, when you come into Pitt, you would be able to start it as a freshman. I believe it's about 9 or 12 credits, so 4 classes. So you'll have 2 classes you absolutely have to take: sport management and human resource management. And then you'll have 2 different elective classes. For example, I'm taking digital and social media marketing as well as e-commerce. So this certificate is a step up from a minor, but not as heavily rigorous or academically rigorous as a major. But the classes are really geared towards sport management as well as human resources. So you kind of get that little bit of an overlap. And some different things I did as an intern. Like I said, I worked in the office. So in the office, we did different sweepstakes. We worked on planning away events. So when the team would travel to different cities for their games, we would plan the events for fans that lived in those cities, since for a lot of fans, it's hard to come out to Pittsburgh for a game. Then the other side of the internship was working the 8 home games. So that was really fun. We did a lot of different promotions and as well as the different marketing events.
Sorry, I was muted there. We have a question for Sophia that I'm going to direct over. We have a question from Lucy, excuse me, that I'm going to direct over to Kyle. Kyle, how does an internship weigh in positively? Does it affect any grades, or does it just look good on the CV?
It actually did both for me. So I've noticed ever since I started working at my internship 2 years ago, so I started my sophomore year, my grades have actually gone up since then. I think that like when you do like internships or you're like super involved on campus, it helps you like really manage your time. So like what I mean by that is that I don't have like just class and then I have nothing to do the rest of the day. I actually have to like prioritize my time, like have a schedule down where like I really do in those times that I need to study. I actually do work instead of like messing around or not doing anything. And then it also does look good on a CV. Just kind of like progressively as you have more internships, usually it does help you get better opportunities as time goes on.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. I have a question that I'm going to direct over to Jackie. Jackie, whenever you did your internship abroad, can you be reimbursed for the additional costs, such as housing, flights, things like that?
That's a very good question. In my case, it was more of an option that you did the internship. It wasn't that you were going mainly for it. So I think it really depends on the program where you do it through, that you do it through. Other than that, it's the same cost.
Cool. Thank you. I have a question that I'm going to direct to all four of you. If you could each chime in a little bit on what is the best way to get involved with internships? So maybe you can share some tips or tricks that you utilized and then how you all got set up with your first internship experience with Pitt. We'll start with Kyle.
I would say just going into like your freshman year, and also like you usually get your first internship after your freshman year or maybe even into like your sophomore year. So I think it's good just to like lay a groundwork of like you're getting involved on campus. You start making connections. I think like making a LinkedIn is a really good thing to do. And then that's a really good way to also like apply for things. So I would say like getting involved your freshman year is a big deal, and then making connections from there that'll help you find opportunities later down the line.
Cool. How about yourself, Jackie?
So for me, I became best friends with the Career Center. They have a thing where they do the lunch and learn. So usually that's a certain career field and they bring professionals in that field and you just sit down and talk to them, have lunch, and they go over like a day in their life. And that's how I got my first internship. And with the internship abroad, I knew I wanted to travel, and then it was also kind of like you also can get an internship this way as well. And I was able to talk to representatives at that internship program, and they're able to suit me with the best place possible. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, awesome. And now for that same question, we'll hear from Alana and then Sophia.
Yeah, so my biggest piece of advice with internships is to just plan ahead. So I got my internship all of sophomore year, but going into sophomore year, I knew I wanted to do something else with my time, but I wasn't quite sure what yet. And I didn't end up getting my internship until like October of my sophomore year. But because I knew I wanted to do something else with my time, I made my schedule accordingly. So I know Kyle was talking earlier, and Sophia too, about only having classes on certain days. So that's really helpful. Or I made my schedule so I only had classes in the morning, so I could dedicate all my afternoons to my internships. So I would recommend just kind of having a timeline of like, oh, this semester I want to have my internship. This semester I want to study abroad. That way you're making sure you can utilize your time best at Pitt and take advantage of every opportunity.
One more thing I just wanted to add. My first internship experience was the summer after my freshman year, and I got it because a lady from the National Kidney Foundation came to speak to our marketing class. So I think it's really important that if you have the opportunity to really network and connect with someone that has come to Pitt's campus, that you really take advantage of that, because that was really my first step into getting other internships, just because I went up there and introduced myself.
Awesome. Thank you to the four of you for sharing all of that great info. Our next question that came in is in regards to the guaranteed internship program that Pitt's Career Development Center offers. This is a program that is available to all students upon completing a short checklist of career-related tasks, things like having your resume or cover letter reviewed, doing a mock interview, going to a job fair, networking opportunity, shadowing opportunity, whatever it may be. And upon completion of that checklist, students are guaranteed an internship in their desired career field, whatever it may be. I had the opportunity during my time as a Pitt student to complete the internship guarantee, and I spent 2 incredible summers working with Johns Hopkins University. I knew that I wanted to stay working within higher education, and they were able to set me up with those 2 incredible summers. A friend of mine, I think her experience was slightly more unique than my own. She was a marketing and communications major at Pitt, and during the last semester of our senior year, she completed the internship guarantee and interned with the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you're not familiar with the Pittsburgh Penguins, they are the professional hockey team in the city of Pittsburgh. If you are tuning in from Philadelphia, please just bear with me for a few moments. It just so happened that the semester that she was interning in the marketing department with the Pittsburgh Penguins, that they went on to win the Stanley Cup. So the whole time that she's interning with them, she got to travel with the team, be a part of all of those different celebrations. And upon completing her internship, not only was she offered a full-time job in the marketing department of the Pittsburgh Penguins, but she also walked away with a really incredible Stanley Cup championship ring. I hope your jaw is on the floor right now, just as mine was whenever I first heard this story. But because of all of these incredible opportunities outside of the classroom at Pitt, because of this incredible internship guarantee program, my friend had an incredible internship experience, now has a full-time job at the Pittsburgh Penguins, and a really remarkable piece of jewelry to commemorate it all. So that's just a little bit more about the internship guarantee program that our Career Development Center has to offer. We're going to circle back into our questions now with one from Nikki that I'm going to direct over to Alana. And Nikki wants to know, is it possible to balance both research and internships?
Yeah, so this is a really great question, and this is one that I had, especially as a biology major. It was really important to me that I wanted to get like both lab research, but also like an internship to see what I could do in the future with my degree. So it is possible, but you have to go back to what I was saying earlier about just planning ahead. So I knew I wanted to do both research and an internship. So the summer after my freshman year, I actually worked in a lab at Temple University. So I got to do that research experience working in a lab hands-on, and that was nice because all I did was work in a lab. I didn't take summer classes, I didn't have another job, I just went to lab every day, and I got to really immerse myself in that experience. And then going into my sophomore year, gonna be honest, I didn't like working in a lab. I didn't like research, so I knew that. So going forward, I wanted to find a different kind of internship. So sophomore year, I was able to explore different opportunities through an internship. So it is possible. It's just something that you want to keep in the back of your mind. Make sure, you know, is this summer, am I doing an internship? Am I taking summer classes? Like, what am I doing? And just sort of have a general like layout of what you want to do every semester and every summer.
Awesome, thank you. Kyle, question from Lauren. When do most Pitt students start with internships?
I think it depends on your major. I mean, I started my sophomore year, so I would probably say around then. But I also wouldn't just like pigeonhole yourself into like saying that this is like the good start time, because I think it depends on like what your major is, like what your if you're prioritizing research over internships or something. I don't think you should really like compare yourself, but I would probably say around like sophomore, junior year.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question from Lauren that she prompted for all four of you, and I think it is a really great question to have all four of you chime in on. What are some of the best practices for balancing your academics and other outside of the classroom involvements with your internship experiences? And we'll start that off with Jackie.
So one thing I will say is that you definitely have to know yourself. So like me, I tend to pile a lot of things on myself, and then I get frustrated when I don't complete everything. So I learned throughout the years that I need to prioritize things. Like, obviously, if I have an internship, it goes first, but grades are also as important. And then with student life or campus life, I just kind of figure out what clubs I'm really committed to and what I'm really not committed to. So therefore, I make a more simpler schedule for me. And I do everything.
Very cool. Thank you, Jackie. We'll go ahead and hear from Kyle, then Alana, then Sophia for that same question.
I'd probably just say that you just need to prioritize your time. And then, I don't know, it's kind of a difficult question because everyone's different. But like this semester, I had my internship, I had my research position, and then I was also a TA. So I would help teach a class as well in the history department. So I was pretty busy. And then, as I said before, I think it's just like in those times that you're really studying, you really just need to take advantage of that time and like do your work. And then also try not to set aside too much time for social life, but also don't miss out on things because you're just like studying or like doing internships. You just have to balance it all out.
We'll bounce the same question over to Alana, then Sophia.
Right. So one thing that I found really helpful during my internship is just recognizing that the people that I'm working with probably had similar, if not the same degree that I'm currently working on. So they understand the struggles. So for example, when I worked at my internship, I'd be like, hey guys, I have an organic chemistry exam on Friday, and they knew what that meant, and they knew that it was like a source of stress for me. So they were able to be like, okay, you can reduce your hours this week, come in more hours next week, like whatever works best for you. So just having an open communication with the people that you're working with. I got really lucky that everyone in my internship was really like respectful of my time, and I had a good experience there. Um, Also, it's helpful if you've already worked at an internship for a certain amount of time, they might be more lenient to let you change how many hours you work. So for example, in the fall of my sophomore year, I worked about 15 hours a week in my internship, but the spring is a super busy time, especially for Pathfinders. So I was a UTA, and I was doing Pathfinders, and I had just joined a social sorority, and I was doing a lot of stuff in the spring, but I was still really passionate about my internship. So I said, hey, can I drop down to like 5 hours a week? And they were like, you've been working here for 6 months. We know you're a good employee, and we'll be okay with you dropping down your hours. So it's just having an open communication with the people that you work with. That's a really important point.
And then I completely agree with everything that my other Pathfinders have said, just really making sure that you know yourself and you know what you can handle. I live by my planner. I always write down everything I have to do in a day, and it definitely helps me make sure I do my responsibilities for my internship, for school, make sure I don't miss any assignments, things like that. So definitely just knowing yourself, planning out your days, your weeks is really helpful.
Thank you all. Alana, as a biological sciences major, could you speak a little bit to experiences that are available for potential pre-med students?
Yeah. So I'm not pre-med, but literally every single one of my friends is, so I have a pretty good understanding of what they do. Um, so there's a lot of different stuff you can do, especially considering that Pitt is such a research heavy institution. So the majority of my friends work in some sort of lab on campus. The ways you can get involved in those labs is you can just get to know your professor. A lot of our professors are doing active research, or it's as easy as just going on the Pitt website, typing in like, I'm interested in neuro research, looking at the neuro researchers, seeing what they're doing, and just contacting them, saying, I really want to work in your lab. And more than likely, they're going to let you work in their lab because they need the help. So that's a really good resource. And then also, if you are pre-med, we do have the University of Pittsburgh Medical Centers right on campus. So you can always work in a hospital. I have a lot of friends who internship and shadow in hospitals and things like that. So there is a huge laundry list of opportunities for you as a pre-med student. You just have to see what would work best for you and your interests.
Awesome. Thank you. Sophia, can you talk to us a little bit about the timeline for applying for internships, possibly how long it takes for you to hear back once you've submitted an application? Are there interviews involved? How do you, or when do you start looking for internships? All of those great details.
Yeah, of course. So I think I utilized Handshake, like Alana said, a really great Pitt resource or a resource Pitt has for its students for getting different internship opportunities. And the nice thing about Handshake is when you apply directly through Handshake, you can actually see when the employer has viewed your application. You can see the decision that they've made if you're going to move on to the next round of interviews, things like that. So that's a really nice way to know just off the bat if they've at least seen your application, your resume, because sometimes if you apply to very large companies, they don't always have the time to get back to everyone that applied. If unfortunately you didn't get an interview for that position. So once you get past that initial application phase, again, it depends on the company, but you could have one round of interviews. For the Steelers, it was just one round of interviews. But for PNC, on the other hand, it was 2 rounds of interviews. So it really just depends on the internship, the company that you're applying for. And I would say that interview process as well also depends. I think for PNC, we had 2 rounds. I think it took about a month from the time I got my first interview to the time I got my offer. The Steelers took a little bit longer, even though there was only one interview. There were a lot of people interviewing for the same positions. So it took a longer amount of time to get through all those interviews and make decisions. So again, I think it really just does depend on the interview you have. But a lot of the times, I would say maybe a month and a half from the time you apply to the time you hear the company's final decision.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia. We are about halfway through our YouTube live session dedicated to internships. We've had quite a few people join us since the beginning of the session. So I'm going to ask that each of you, our 4 students, reintroduce yourselves, just share your name and a little bit about your background at Pitt, your internship experiences, so that our new guests can learn a little bit about who they are hearing from. So we'll start that with Kyle.
Hi, I'm Kyle. So I'm going to be a senior in the fall, and I have interned at 2 law firms, one in the Pittsburgh area doing civil defense and also insurance liability, and also one home in Buffalo, and they did workers' comp and health law as well. And in the fall, I will be interning in the Pitt Athletics Compliance Department, and I will be a law clerk there, keeping our student athletes eligible.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Thank you for joining us today. And then we'll go ahead and hear from Jackie, then Alana, then Sophia. Just again, reintroducing yourself.
Hello, my name is Jackie. I am going to be a senior. My major is media and professional communications, and I'm minoring music. My first internship was at a community television station called PCTV in the city of Pittsburgh, where I directed, filmed, interviewed people, and created videos. Super fun. And then my second internship was in London at a radio promotion PR agency titled Heart Media, where I would send out service emails promoting our clients, which included Madison Beer, Winston Surfshirt, and also Tony Christie, a legend, if you ask me.
Okay, so hi guys, my name's Alana. I'm gonna be a senior. I am a bio major, chem minor with a certificate in public and professional writing. I'm looking to go into science education. So all of my sophomore year, I worked at a like an online like resource center for high school students who are taking STEM classes. So I would make like bio study guides or like quizzes and like little YouTube videos, just anything to help them better understand like general science concepts.
And hi, everyone. I am Sophia. I'm going to be a senior majoring in marketing with a certificate in sport management. My first internship was in Sydney, Australia when I was abroad last summer with the Great and Western City Giants in the membership and ticketing department. And then this past fall, I was a marketing and events intern with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Awesome. Thank you all again for joining us today. Alana, we have had a question come in regards to your experience in both research and internships, and they would like to know kind of what the benefits are of both and maybe how they can work together with each other.
Yeah, so my internship versus my research were pretty different from each other. At least in my experience, for me, when I worked in my research lab, it was over the summer. So it was really just me and my PI. And we got to work together over like literally sitting across the lab bench from each other, talking to each other. So she sort of became a little bit of a mentor for me. And I had a really strong relationship with her that I continue to have. So I just had a little bit more of an intimate experience with my research. With my internship, I was working at a business. So there were probably about 30 people. It was like a startup business. So I got to know people more as a team, and I got to work with all of them. So I would say the biggest difference for me was just the amount of people that I was working with. The research, basically what it taught me was that I didn't want to go into research, but that was really important because I would have gone all 4 years thinking that I wanted to be pre-research, pre-PhD. So even though I didn't enjoy my lab experience as much, it was, I would say, more beneficial than my internship because it taught me more about what I wanted to do.
Very cool. Thank you, Alana. We had a question come in regards to co-ops versus internships. Kyle, can you speak a little bit to what the difference is between the two of those?
Okay, so I didn't do a co-op, but 2 of my roommates are engineers and they're currently doing co-ops. So co-ops are a little bit different because you're actually working a part-time job, and you do it through the School of Engineering, and you do rotations. So you do a minimum of 3 rotations, And what ends up happening is that you end up taking at least another semester of college. So for example, both my roommates, they're not taking classes this semester. They're working 40 hours a week at their co-op, and then they get paid. They get paid pretty nicely, like $20 an hour. And then when they do those rotations, they just graduate a semester late, and then it looks really good on your resume. A lot of the time, the people who end up like working at one co-op, they end up being employed there. One of my roommates already has a job offer from a firm in Pittsburgh. So it's just like a longer internship, and you just do it for a longer amount of time than most others.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. We had a question come in regards to assistance from the university when students are interning. We offer a really cool program through the College of Business Administration known as the TAFL Scholarship. Sophia, could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So the TOEFL scholarship is essentially assistance to any students that are doing unpaid internships. So if you're not getting paid from your company, you can apply for the TOEFL scholarship that you will get that assistance from the College of Business Administration. Sorry, what was the other part of that question? I'm completely drawing a blank.
No worries. It was just if you could provide us with some details of the TAFL Scholarship and how students can utilize it.
Okay. Yeah. So like I said, the TOEFL scholarship is really just that money for you. You can utilize it as if you were getting paid from that company. And then during the year, just kind of academic assistance, like I mentioned earlier, you can get credit for those internships that you do. So it's a little bit nicer that you can maybe take one last class if you're getting 3 credits. So it just allows you to manage your time a little bit more.
Very cool. Thank you. Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about when is the best time of year to apply for a summer internship?
That is a very good question. So it really depends on the type of internship you're looking for. So I applied to NPR's Tiny Desk concert and the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show. And both of them, the applications ended around like mid-February, late January. Others, you apply in March. So it really depends. The more, I would say, competitive internships require you to apply earlier, even like at the end of fall, whereas the more local and more co-op internships have more leeway to apply. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Whenever it comes to internship experiences, they can at times be maybe a little bit stressful going through those different application processes. Maybe there are a lot of applicants that are going for those different experiences. Alana and then Kyle, can you speak a little bit to what the culture, the climate is like around the competitive nature of internships at Pitt? We'll start with Alana.
Sure. So one of the things that I really admire about Pitt is that I've never really felt a sense of competition, especially in my major, which is bio, which is like traditionally seen as like people are very competitive. I've never experienced that. In terms of internships specifically, because we are in a city, there are so many internship like opportunities that the odds of you and your friend applying for the same one are honestly pretty slim. And if you don't get that one, there's 50 other ones you can really apply for. So when I had my internship, everyone that I talked to was like, that's really interesting. That's really cool. Can I hear more about that? But it didn't feel like they were going to take the job that I wanted. And I also had the advantage of my internship was at a startup company. So I got to share my internship with a lot of my friends, and they ended up also working at the business that I worked at. So if anything, I think a lot of people having internships just helps you like have a better understanding of what internships are available for you. But I've never felt like a sense of like strong competition or anything like that.
And Kyle, a little bit more, if you have any other thoughts about the kind of the culture around the competitive nature towards internships.
Yeah, I think it's obviously competitive. Like there's going to be like usually like a minimum like GPA for internships and stuff, but it's not like it's not like people are like fighting over like one spot. I think like as you get like older in school, like after your sophomore year, a lot of people have been interning at places already. So if you are looking for internships, you're gonna have friends who like might have a way for you to get into a specific company. For example, at one of my internships, we were looking for another intern for last summer, and I recommended one of my best friends for it, and then she interviewed for the position. She got it. So I think it's pretty cooperative. Like people will like help you get connections and for interviews and whatnot.
Great. Thank you both. We have some questions coming in regards to how students find internships. One of the great opportunities that we offer to our students who are looking to take advantage of internship experiences is an internship fair that we offer twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. Jackie, could you tell us a little bit more about that internship fair opportunity?
Absolutely. So the internship fair, I highly recommend that Pitt students go because one, they have certain, I guess, career fields of interest for all majors. So if you're like me and you're interested in the media and the arts, they have local internships that provide that. I've also seen firms, engineering, companies, everything like that. But what's nice about it is that it's a really good place to create a brand for yourself. So if you are interested, that company knows who you are already. One of my really good friends actually did that with Norfolk Southern, which is a company, and I believe it's a train company. And he went to the career fair when he was a sophomore, and he just kept visiting them every year. And now he's an assistant manager for them in Atlanta, and he's having a great time. So definitely, I highly suggest an internship fair. And also, you can ask the counselors if they can bring in certain companies or organizations. They do offer that opportunity. I remember I asked if they could bring some representatives from NPR or even some TV programs, anything like that. So they definitely listen to the students and they try to make sure that they accompany everyone.
Very cool. Thank you. I have a question that I'm going to direct to all four of you. I want you to think back to where you were whenever you were kind of in the position that our students who are tuning in today are currently in. So maybe a high school junior, a high school senior, and you're starting to think about, hey, I would like to have an internship. If you can offer one piece of advice to those students on how they can start with that process now, what that piece of advice would be. Maybe it's cleaning up their resume. Maybe it's narrowing a list of the companies that they would like to apply for an internship at. Whatever it may be, just that one piece of advice for students who are sitting in a situation that maybe was 3, 4, 5 years ago from where you are now, what you could offer to them. We'll start with Sophia.
Yeah, so I think my biggest piece of advice is make a LinkedIn. I mean, it's the whole everything is just so surrounded by technology these days that yes, in-person networking connections are very important, but before you even get to Pitt, you can have that LinkedIn so that when you get there, you can connect with people you meet. You can even connect with people before you go off to college, people that may work for the college you're at, professors, things like that, other students. Just really start building that network now before you can really make those in-person networking connections.
Great. Thank you, Sophia. We'll go ahead to Jackie, then Alana, then Kyle.
So for media, I highly recommend that you start getting involved with the TV club or theater or any type of form of media at your high school so that you create your skill set. So once you go into the field and you want to create a brand for yourself, you're saying, hey, this is what I made in high school. I have experience using this camera, this certain software. I'm very good with public speaking, and it just builds your resume up and also builds your confidence. So definitely take advantage of your high school clubs. And when you come to Pitt, I highly recommend taking advantage of the same clubs because you learn a lot, especially with the radio station. I'm a part of it. I've learned so much about businesses, programming, and even just how to work with people. So that would be my piece of advice.
Great, thank you. And then Alana, then Kyle.
Yeah, so the biggest piece of advice I would give is to just don't narrow your search too much. So you might think, I want to go into this, and I'm 100% know that I want to go into this. But an internship might present itself that's like a little bit different than that. And you should still go for that internship. I know I mentioned this earlier, but when I first started at Pitt, I 100% thought I wanted to go into research, was going to get a PhD, was going to work in a lab. And then I had that experience and I really didn't like it. And I was really stressed out and really overwhelmed because I was like, I'm halfway into a biology degree and I don't know what I want to do with it. So I just went on our Handshake account, which is like the website that shows you all the available internships. And I just looked up biology and I just saw what happened, and I saw this internship for biological education, and I didn't know anything about education and I didn't know if I would like it, but I applied and I found that I have a really strong passion for science education, and I fully intend on pursuing that after my degree. So just make sure you're keeping your options open, and recognizing that even if the internship isn't 100% what you want to do, and you don't end up liking it, you can learn a lot just from the experience of having it.
Thank you, Alana. Go ahead, Kyle.
I agree with Alana on what she said, that like you really do get stuff out of, like, you get a good experience, but also it's okay if you don't know what you want to do exactly, because I didn't know what I wanted to do like coming out of high school. And I think just like your freshman year of college, like going into your going into your freshman year, just like start making connections, like joining clubs, and then going from there, and then just apply to whatever you think that you'd be interested in, and then start the interview process. But it's also okay, I think, like when you're doing internships, if you don't exactly like the internship, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's better to find out when you're 19, 20 years old that you don't want to do something, versus when you already have your degree and you think that you were going to pursue like a certain career path, and then you find out that you don't like to do that in the real world. So I think it's good to just start early and then figure out really what you want to do.
Very cool. Well, thank you all for your advice in regards to getting started with internships. We are sadly reaching the end of our time together today, but we do have one last question that I would love for all four of you to touch on, and it is, what has been the most meaningful piece of your internship experience? And we'll go ahead and start with Jackie.
I would say the most meaningful piece for me was that it's okay to fail. There have been many times, especially at my internship abroad. The culture in England is very different, aside from the food being bland. But essentially, they work differently than I did, and it was very hard adjusting. So I learned that I had to fail a little bit to adapt to their environment. And after that, I was able to work smoothly with the entire team. So allowing yourself to fail and always ask questions, and they appreciate that out of their interns. So.
My most meaningful experience is definitely that everyone has to start somewhere. When I applied to the internship with the Steelers, I had no previous sports experience, and I honestly wasn't that hopeful. I didn't have any experience. This was my first real internship, but it really made me realize that no matter what you want to do, as long as you just take that step and you at least apply, you are putting yourself out there, and you never know what could happen from that.
I would say that you should really pursue things that you're really passionate about. Like, for example, I started out as a pre-med major, and I was taking chemistry, biology, and I really hated it. And at the beginning of my sophomore year, I switched over to political science, and then I found something that I was really passionate about. So I would say just do something that you're passionate about and that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life, and that you can make a difference doing as well.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest thing that I learned in my internship was just the kind of like worker that I am. So since I was working at a real business with real people, I got to learn like, oh, I like to collaborate in this way. I don't like to collaborate in this way. I can't sit at my desk at my computer for hours. but I'm good at XYZ. So I really think it helped me take things that I thought I knew about myself and sort of contextualize them into like a real work environment. And it really helped me sort of narrow my focus on what kind of jobs I would and would not be good for. And I would have never had that knowledge had I had not had my internship. So it really helped me just sort of see myself in the real world and take a break from just like my whole life being college.
Awesome. Thank you to our 4 incredible students, our Pitt Pathfinders who joined in today to share a little bit more about their internship experiences at Pitt. And thank you to all of you who have tuned in to learn a little bit more about what we are offering here at the University of Pittsburgh. If you are interested in learning more about Pitt from a virtual setting, I highly encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification button so that you are informed anytime we post a new video. Also on our website, we are offering a variety of different virtual opportunities for you to take advantage of to have all of your questions answered and to learn more about the university. Otherwise, thank you again for tuning in and hail to Pitt.